health for Mississippi State, and we are operating on in a limited information setting.
We don't need to know, evidently.
Yeah, you said that you don't think that Will Rogers is going to play on Saturday.
Correct. I don't think he's going to play, and I'm not 100% sure on Woody Marks. I'm much more sure that Rogers will not play than I am that Marks will play, if that makes sense.
And is there a single injury to point to with Woody Marks, or just kind of an ongoing?
I think he's just beat up.
I feel like that's 2 or 3 years in a row with him also, where it's just like
he's just beat up, and he's taken a lot of hits over the years at Mississippi State. He's been 4 years now with however many carries and however many catches. He's had a ton of hits. Yeah. You think about college running backs for the most part. I mean, the really good ones only get 3 years and they don't take as many hits. Versus Marks, who's in his 4th year as a starter, who not only has the carries, but he has all the catches. And you remember that first year, every time he caught the ball, his back was to the defense, and a linebacker would just light him up because there was always the check down. So, he's tough as nails, but there's only so much you can do. I thought, if you want to play hindsight, I thought the decision to let him play against Western Michigan was a mistake. You didn't need him. You could have done without him. Just let him rest. But they put him out there, and he took a shot in that game, and now I think he's going to miss. I think he's going to miss, but he could also play. That'll be a later in the week decision. I think Rogers is out. I'll be surprised if he plays on Saturday.
Arnett talking today about what the offense would look like under Mike Wright, I thought was at least somewhat interesting. Basically, he said it's going to look the same as it's looked when he's been in the game. And we've frankly don't have a great sample size to know exactly how they're going to use Mike Wright in a full-time capacity, but this is the kind of game where you hope to see some creativity from your offensive coordinator, right? You've got a totally different guy now if Rodgers is unable to go, which it doesn't sound like it, but that's not confirmed anywhere. A totally different guy at quarterback. Totally different. I mean, you can't run the offense the same way that you did with Rodgers because, Mike Wright's been a starter in the SEC, and accuracy was an issue. It's not like he's, throwing with his feet or anything, but, not a premier passer for sure. Right. Had the highest uncatchable ball rate in the SEC last year, which is not a good stat. He was dead last in the league in catchable pass percentage. Not good. But super athlete. So I would love to see things that we have not seen before this weekend. And I'm sure they're probably working on that, and they don't want to say that publicly. But this is a chance for Kevin Barbay to be creative in the run game and show some wrinkles that Arkansas has not seen on tape yet.
If it is Mike Wright, and Borky kind of alluded to it, so his numbers this year, he's 8 of 11. He's played in 6 games and has thrown 11 passes with 1 touchdown and no interceptions. He's got 20 carries on the year for 138 yards. So he's averaging right at 7 yards a carry with 3 touchdowns on the ground. But I guess what I was going to say, could Mike Wright provide a spark? Could he bring something to the table at the quarterback position that hasn't been there? Yes. But if you're pinning your hopes on a complete renaissance of the offense on the shoulders of a guy who couldn't win and hold on to the starting job at Vanderbilt, it feels like it's fair to say that part out loud, too.
It absolutely is. And one other thing to consider is I don't really care who the quarterback is for Mississippi State if they're not going to be better defensively. Mike Wright, Will Rogers, Nick Fitzgerald, Dak Prescott, who cares? If you can't stop the opposing team from getting in the end zone to the tune of 30-plus points per game, who cares? So they got much bigger issues than who the quarterback is. I think with Wright, that you have some potential for some bigger plays than you had with Will Rogers. I don't know that you'll have the same. And I know it's difficult to say consistency because State has not been great offensively this year. Against LSU, they were awful. Against Alabama, they weren't very good. They were good passing the ball against South Carolina, but they weren't able to run the ball at all in that game. But you do get what I'm saying when I talk about Rogers and his ability to just kind of manage the game. I don't know that Wright gives you the same ability.